We back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. Today's reflection, one that I've been thinking about the last few days and journaling on, writing about, thinking about. It came up a few weeks ago, and I don't know what prompted it the last 2 or 3 days of my life, but it came up a few weeks ago in the Venice Vedanta Club, where one of the group members was asking, or he's telling a story about going to meet Swami, our 97-year-old teacher in India. And he had come across these clips of the podcast on, I think it was TikTok. He's like, man, I'm in LA. I'm only an hour away. I want to go check out this group and shout out Prague. He has been coming to meetings ever since. And he also went over to India to see Swami. And he asked a question about judgment. He said, how can I avoid judging others when we grow in our awareness of our decisions, the repercussions of our decisions? You know, as our sobriety and the habits, decisions, the choices we make grows, it grows the clarity in which we see others making decisions that maybe out of love for them, we're like, God, why would they? No, don't do that. Or out of just sheer desire, wishing they were different. I know that feeling of wishing someone was different just because it would be less of a hassle. Total selfishness. But wishing they were different so that it wasn't a drain on the network. But regardless, he asked, how can I avoid judgment? And Swami just shook his head and said, do not judge. And as far as the story goes from this friend, he said that Swami, each question after that, just kept coming back to do not judge, do not judge. Why is judgment of others so suboptimal in our spiritual growth? This philosophy is very clear about not judging others. Well, there's two major reasons. One is in Advaita Vedanta, non-dual end of knowledge. This philosophy is about cultivating an increasing ring of identification with those around us. Not just me and mine and what I'm doing for my progression, my career, my desires, but how can I incorporate, okay, this is what the family would find useful. Okay, this is what my community could use. This is what my state, my region, my country, all humanity could benefit from. Cultivating an ever-increasing ring of identification with others. Not going beyond your level, but knowing your level and then saying, okay, how can I push that further? Put aside my motivations, my preferences for the progression of the household, the neighborhood, my coworkers. And when we judge, we create instead of cultivating an identification with those. Love is seeing no otherness, according to this philosophy. So judgment is the exact opposite of love. Judgment is creating separation. It's ego-driven separation. It is ego-driven distinction, you from them, you from their act. Oh, I would never do that. Or, those are bad influences. Those are good influences. So this first issue with judgment is that you're creating separateness instead of cultivating identification and love. The second part comes in an egoistic sense where we say things like, oh, I would never do that. Or, oh, God, why'd they do that? That's so terrible. Don't they know that that's such a bad decision for this or that reason? Or, man, that is, and put in the most diplomatic way, as not what I prefer. I wish they had handled it this way. That part, that ego-driven valuation. It isn't just distinguishing you from others, creating separateness, but it creates this I-ness, ahamkara, this ego-driven valuation of a scenario that inflates our egos. Fellow non-dualist, friend, comedian, Pete Holmes, great podcast, by the way. You Made It Weird, amazing. He's one of OG podcasters and top 10 comedian, top 5 comedian, I think, on the planet. Just so hilarious. And he has this great phrase of, so often in life, if you were them, you'd be them too. He'll say this pretty often about people. And whenever he finds himself thinking like, why do they do that? Or isn't that just so short-sighted? Or God, they're such idiots. Or wow, that's such a bad habit. He reminds himself of this concept of, if I were them, I'd be them. We are all swimming upstream against our lower natures, doing our best. Some people are further in the journey, a few stronger muscles. Some people are just getting started. Some people start way the hell down the river, where the current is so strong, doing their best. Growing up in a broken home or not having the guides that you or I might have benefited from, doing their best. Swimming hard, but working against a very different current than, say, someone that had amazing guides throughout their life. There isn't even a concept of evil within Vedanta. The closest Vedanta gets to evil is goodness bereft of a guide. Meaning that there is this inherent goodness, they just have not had the guides that you and I have. And said another way, we are all struggling, all swimming upstream against the current with a whole lot of distance to cover. But I love this phrase from Pete of, if I were them, I'd be them. If you had to deal with trauma as a child, stepfather that beat you, an alcoholic as an example that you saw day in, day out, maybe you'd take to the bottle at 15, 18. I read somewhere that 25% of people have a super response to alcohol. They feel so much more than 75% of people. That is a genetic, karmic makeup that you and I might not have. We'll have our fair share of attachments in other parts of our lives, but to say, God, why do they keep relapsing? I would never do that. That is ego-driven valuation. It isn't just distinction. It is inflating the very thing that separates us from harmony in our work, in our communities, in our lives. Ego. The I-ness that makes us feel like, oh, I make good decisions. That's the classic I-ness that makes us feel like, well, I'm the doer. I'm the one doing all of these good acts. And as Christ so famously said, we are paying attention to the speck in our brother's eye and not the log in our own when we inflate this shield from reality, which is the ego. This is not to be confused with discernment. Discernment, Viveka, is the crown jewel of virtues. Discerning, okay, that community over there would not be a great influence on me. As they say in AA, if you're prone to slip, don't go where it's slippery. So maybe go and hang out with the friends that are at the bar till 2 a.m. If that is your vice, might not be a great decision for you. Or hang out with the friends that love going to the bar till 2 a.m. on a regular basis. It isn't a judgment of them, though. It is a discernment. Discernment is a truth-driven valuation. Which community, which friend, which relationships, which career path would bring me closer to truth with that increasing sobriety, even with that increasing ring of identification. Because that truth, the more we drink it up, the more we pursue it, the closer we get to that truth. Truth-driven valuations of a scenario, of a decision. The more we have, the more we can offer to those around us. The more useful we become to our households, our communities. to humanity at large, to all living beings at large. Discernment is not judgment, though. Judgment increases separateness and inflates the ego. Discernment is the clarity to see which choice, which relationships take us closer to truth. Requires reflection and increasing growth to have that clarity. But that is far from increasing our separateness from those around us, or inflating our ego and blinding us from the truth. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.